Borders are shutting, there's a new variant in town, and everyone's experiencing a very worrying symptom, deja vu.
Well, it's obviously a variant of concern, but it's not the first one we've had.
The Omicron variant has now been detected in Southern Africa, Europe, Britain, Israel, Hong Kong and Australia. Notably, our first two cases in New South Wales are both young people, fully vaccinated and asymptomatic.
So we need to see whether that is actually the characteristic of this virus. Of course, if it is, that's very reassuring, but it's too early to definitely say that.
It's also too early to know if Omicron is less dangerous than Delta, but the signs are positive. Early reports show Omicron patients suffering from severe fatigue, headache and general aches and pains. Not ideal, but a long way from previous symptoms of fever, loss of smell and taste, and oxygen desaturation. The Omicron symptom reports are so far anecdotal, but doctors are hopeful.
So far, we've only seen breakthrough infection, not severe infection. Again, might change. We're not saying the virus is not going to give you severe infection, but the whole hype out there doesn't make any sense, medical sense at this stage.
The question now is whether Omicron will be able to evade current vaccines, and the answer is we don't know yet.
At the moment, we have no definite evidence, either clinical or laboratory or at the population level, that the vaccines are less effective against this.
Meanwhile, vaccine makers are sounding hopeful, with Pfizer saying it could have an Omicron-tailored vaccine ready within 100 days, and Moderna already underway on an update.
This is a dangerous-looking virus, but I think we have many tools in our armamentarium now to be able to fight it, so I'm optimistic.
Epidemiologist Professor Nancy Baxter joins us now to chat about it. Nancy, there seems to be a cautiously optimistic vibe out there about this variant. Is that just me being too hopeful, or is that warranted?
Well, I think we can always hope for the best, but I do think we need to be prepared for the worst. And so the reason people are a little bit hopeful is because, some of the clinicians in South Africa who've been treating patients with this new variant, Omicron, the patients haven't been particularly sick. They presented with, symptoms like fatigue. Now, the thing is that's just a small number of patients, and obviously we need a lot more patients to, base any conclusions on. And the other thing is they're starting to notice a real uptick in hospitalizations in South Africa, which means it is causing serious disease. We don't know if that's just because so many more people are getting coronavirus right now in South Africa, but I'd say that it's very early days to say whether it's worse, whether it's better, whether it's the same in terms of how serious it is if you get it. Like I said, we can be optimistic if we want to. We can hope for the best, but we do need to plan for something that's not the best.
The other big question is how effective our vaccines will remain against this particular variant. I know, obviously, very early days. Can you see anything from the early signs?
We don't know is the only answer that's correct here. But some of the changes in this virus and the spike protein is what allows the virus to attach to your cells and enter your cells. Some of the changes in the spike protein for this virus are changes that we know do affect the ability of the virus to get around immunity. Now, that's not to say, it gets around it completely. No one is really thinking that. But it may be that vaccines may be less effective against it than previous variants, not no effect. So I think that people shouldn't panic too much. It's not like we're going to be back to March of 2020 here. But, it may be less effective, which is a problem as well.
Pfizer and Moderna, Nancy, seem pretty confident they can update their vaccines and get on top of this. That poses the question, of course, then, do we wait to get our booster shots or for some change in their vaccine method or recipe, or do we still go ahead and do it now?
Well, I think one of the things about the booster shot is, it does up the immunity and decreases the transmissibility of it. So it decreases your chances of getting it, as well as getting serious disease or dying from it. So we know that right now the vaccines we have are effective in terms of preventing severe disease or hospitalization and death from COVID. They're not quite as good at preventing you from getting or transmitting it. They're better than nothing, but they're not quite as good. So, if with the new variant, the vaccines are less effective, but still a bit effective, What makes sense is actually to boost our immunity now with the booster. So to get the booster on board, to have the best immunity possible. And then, there's going to be some time to develop a booster if we need it for the new variant. And then there's going to be a supply issue again, because the whole world's going to want it. So getting our immunity boosted up to the highest possible level while we, get in the queue for the new vaccine if it's needed, that's probably going to be the safest way to go.
But don't worry, Nancy, we'll get in early and we'll order so much it won't be a problem, because that's what we do.
Well, pick up the phone.
Nancy, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.